Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday, March 6th, and it's about 8 o'clock. I am in the studio and have been for about an hour already. I'm just kind of getting my feet on the ground. I worked Saturday this week, worked part of Saturday anyway, so I took Sunday and Monday off. Today is basically my first day of the week. So I've just been taking stock, looking at my to-do list, which I have just kind of added things to over the weekend as they've come to mind, so there isn't really a particular order. So I thought I would show you all that, my kind of planning for the week and probably for the next couple of weeks actually. Yeah, it's been a little while since I filmed, and it's just because I've been, I don't know, super focused on other stuff, and I've been trying to update my website portfolio and I don't know, get a handle around social media and schedulers. I posted a while ago, I think, asking for, posted on Twitter, tweeted, asking for recommendations for social media schedulers. And so I've been using Buffer, and I think I mostly like it. I think I would like Later better, the scheduler Later. But the main reason I wanted is for the link in your Instagram bio, and I'm just not quite ready to pay $20 a month for a social media scheduler. So we'll see. I'm starting with Buffer and seeing how that goes. But yeah, I've just been working on that and a couple smaller editorial projects, which I can actually show you guys today. And yeah, so I really can't remember because it has been a couple weeks since I uploaded, sorry. I can't remember if I mentioned this right when it happened or if I mentioned it somewhere else on social media, but I had been contacted by a client who wanted what would have been a really big job, and it would have been, yeah, a great start to the year, something I was really interested in doing, really wanted to do, but they wanted what was like 6 or 8 weeks of work, and I'm not dragging that out. Like, I mean, it really was about 6 or 8 weeks worth of work, and they wanted it done in a week and a half. And I am pretty good with tight timelines. Even if something kind of freaks me out or I'm a little bit not sure, I usually will still just be able to go for it. That is one area where I've gotten more confidence over the years. But this was just like, I don't even know even if it had been like before Penelope was born, I think the only way I could have possibly done that is if like I slept, I don't know, like 4 hours a night, and then woke up and never showered, never went outside the house, like would have to be working while I was eating, just doing it constantly in order to get that done in a week and a half. And I think the quality would have really suffered too. So yeah, I ended up saying to them that I could do it if I could have a 3-week timeline, which would have still been absolutely insane, and I would have needed to charge more than they had in their budget, just because, yeah, I mean, like, I would have been doing nothing but working, would have had to get additional childcare, would have just been crazy. And they had a decent budget, but they really couldn't go above that. So yeah, it was one of those situations, and I think I've talked about this before, but where I was bummed that I didn't get the job, but I was also like so relieved, because even with saying that I could do it in 3 weeks, like as soon as I had sent the email saying that I could do, you know, 8 weeks of work in 3 weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? What have I done? I was so stressed that I had said that I could do it. So when they wrote back and they were like, oh, you know, actually, like we can't do it, you know, that's just just above our budget, we can't go that far. I know I totally could have come down because it wasn't even that big of a difference, but I could have come down and been like, okay, I'll do it. But I don't know, I should get better at just outright saying no, like, no, that's not reasonable, or I can't do it in that timeline. But I felt relieved that they had said no, and yeah, took the responsibility off of me for having to do that. But anyway, so that happened like 2 weeks ago, and after that, I've been really actually focusing on gearing my portfolio towards and creating additional work for packaging illustration. I just have noticed that over the last couple of years, I guess, I've been getting, and specifically over last year, I got a lot more work that was geared towards that was packaging illustration. And it's a little bit different than, well, it's very different than editorial in a lot of ways. One is that the compensation is much better than for editorial. It's also much more demanding, and usually the illustrations are a lot more detailed and have more components to them. But yeah, one thing specifically I had noticed was that like almost every client I had last year that was doing packaging stuff, they wanted, you know, not just the subject, but they would have it with like all this other stuff. So if it was an apple, say, it would have like a whole cluster of apples, and it would have all the leaves and a little blossom and all these different elements. So I'll obviously be able to add that work that I did last year. For all those different clients, I'll be able to add that to my portfolio eventually, but that is a downside of doing packaging or advertising, is that a lot of the time it doesn't come out right away. It certainly doesn't come out as quick as editorial work does. And at least every client I've had in that area has had me sign non-disclosure agreements. So I can't name the client, and I can't list them on my portfolio, and I can't show any of the work or the process until they have like finished production and the product is out, and you know, anybody could see it or buy it. So yeah, so I feel like I was kind of caught in a bit of a catch-22, because I was noticing, all right, I'm getting more interest in work in this area. I'd like to do more work in that area, but I can't show any of the product from all this stuff that I've done recently. So I just decided to do a couple of personal pieces, and I will just show them to you here. Let me see. Here's one. Let me see, I'm just gonna put it on the ground here. The studio is such a mess, sorry. All right, so this is about 11 by 15 inches, and that's one that I just did. And this is another one, also about 11 by 15 inches. And I've also completely reorganized my portfolio. I had had it done really exclusively by project before, but that meant that like my illustrations of fruit and my illustrations of flowers were kind of spread throughout different collections. So like if somebody wanted to see what I had done for blackberries or whatever, they would have to look in several different places on my website essentially. So and that was another thing that I had noticed, like the art directors who were contacting me for packaging work were wanting me to just send them samples and say like, send us everything that you've done for strawberries or everything that you've done for roses or whatever. So rather than having to go through my website every time that happens and putting together like little PDFs or samples to send the client, I figured I should just organize my website that way. So now I have like, actually I'll show you guys. I have all the flowers in one section. I have all the fruit in one section, all the vegetables in another section. All right, here, I'm just pulling it up. So it still looks very similar, but oh gosh, are you even gonna be able to see that? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I've got like fruit, vegetables, dessert, food and cooking items, what is that? Bread and pastry. Oh, that's annoying. Drinks and packaged foods, portraits, birds, botanicals, hands, stuff, and then patterns. So I will also add some like actual like specific projects down below, but what I'm going to do is then just have the work appear in multiple places. So like if it is, even if it's part of a project, if it is in the category dessert, it will also be in that collection. I just want to make it easier for clients to find stuff. So that is my updated website. And I'm also going to be, I have like updating and refreshing on my mind. So of course I'm making my to-do list of those things way too long and tackling too many projects at once, but I'm also relaunching my newsletter. So I hope to have that done by the time this video posts, and then I will have the, what do you call that thing? The subscribe link in the description box. And if you have been following me on Instagram and you've seen my Insta stories, you know I've been working a lot on patterns recently. Also adding those to my portfolio. And I've had a lot of requests to make some desktops or wallpapers with some of those patterns. So as a thank you for signing up for my newsletter, you will get a download link for one of those wallpapers. Yes. And then I'm also gonna have just like kind of an overview of everything that I'm working on. I think it's either going to be a weekly newsletter or a monthly newsletter. Probably realistically at this point it will be monthly, but I hope to work up to the point where it's weekly. So yeah, I'll have just updates on new work. And I was thinking, like, one of the things I enjoy about artist newsletters as well, like even if I follow somebody on Instagram, because of the algorithm, like I don't always see their stuff. So I like being able to see, oh, okay, this is everything that this person has been up to. And some of the things I have already seen on Instagram, but like not everything, again, because of the algorithm. So this is like the longest intro to a vlog I have ever done. I'm just like telling you guys everything that's been going on, but I hope that is not boring. What else is new? Oh, okay, I have another new thing. I am going to be starting every Tuesday, and this is obviously a Tuesday when I'm filming this. I'm going to be starting a thing on Instagram where I offer an original for $100 flat, including shipping. And except for international, I would add $10 for shipping. But yeah, overall $100 flat for an original, and my originals usually go, you know, anywhere from like 200 to 400. So at this point anyway, I will just be posting that on Instagram. I'm going to use the hashtag #TakeMeHomeTuesday. That has been used before, but it was used a while ago, it looked like, for like pet adoption. So I would be the first art person using it. So I hope that's okay. I hope it won't throw off any of the pet adoption stuff. But I like to think of original works kind of like that anyway, where you're like taking it into your home to be a part of your family. So yeah, I like that idea. So if there's no way I'm going to get this posted today, so that will already be over by the time you guys see this video, but there will be another one next week. It's going to be every Tuesday, and it's just going to be first come, first serve. So whoever messages me first will get the piece. So yes, I think that is it for the general updates. Yeah, so I will go ahead and show you, as I said, like, I don't know, however long ago it was, like 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, I'm going to show you my to-do list and kind of what I am planning out today. All right. Oh, look, what a cute baby. All right, so this is my general to-do list, and some of these things have dates on them and a lot of them don't. I hope you can see. Some of these are things that I've just like thought of over the weekend and dropped onto the list without doing any sort of organization. So I'm basically just going to go through this list and prioritize what I have to do this week and what has to be done this day, or today in particular. And I also have this bigger thing. I don't know, I just was, because I've been in this frame of mind of like updating and redoing things recently, I kind of brainstormed a bunch of areas where I wanted to improve, and goals that I had for for my illustration and art business this year. So I will also kind of look through there and see if there are any of those things that I want to tackle this week. So yeah, I'm just going to do that. Okay, so I have finished prioritizing, and I've taken several things that are from this list. So like I'm focusing this week on doing some SEO work on my website, and that an area that I've really needed to work on for a while is adding titles to all of my images, since that's how that's how a search engine would index it, is through the text, not just through the images. So rather than just having things uploaded and having like, you know, a file name like IMG 2362, like actually having a descriptive title. So something for this one would say like, I don't know, sapling or pine tree or something. So that can be kind of tedious, but I've hired somebody to help me with that. So she is coming over today. So I actually did some of this over the weekend when I wasn't working. But yeah, I planned out the categories and tags that I want her to use, and also planned out how the titles are going to work. Let me see actually if I can open that for you. Let's see. So, so yeah, I'm going to have her, like, because I use Squarespace, you can add categories and tags to your, to any of the things that you upload. So for me, like, it's most of what I upload are, image files. So those can have obviously titles, and they can also have categories and tags, and those are all helpful ways for people to use your website. They make it easier to browse different collections if you have a lot of images like I do, and they also make it easier for search engines to index your site. So I brainstormed the categories that I wanted her to use, and I looked at some of my Google Analytics reports on this to see which categories I should use. So I'm going to have her do food illustration, botanical illustration, wildlife illustration, portraits, and objects. Those two aren't really, I don't know, I feel like they're not as strategic as they could be, but they're going to help definitely with organizing. So she's going to be adding titles as well to a bunch of images, and she's not a search engine professional. She's just someone who's going to be helping me with this work. So I've had to give her like some directions as well. So I have said that the title should be descriptive, and you should think of like how you would search for that image if you could only use words, basically. And then she's going to be adding this little description to the to basically each image on Squarespace has a title and a description box. So she's going to be adding this to the description box of every image. I'm still going to have to go through and add like which image was for add all the client names, basically, because there just would have been no way for me to prep that for her without creating way more work. So yeah, she's going to be adding categories, tags, titles, adding the description box, and she's also going to edit the URL to match the item title, and that's pretty important too. So like if the item title is I don't know, strawberry cut in half, then the URL would read the collection title. So it would say like food illustration / fruit / strawberry cut in half. Yeah, so she's going to be doing that. And then these are the tags. So like for fruit, I have within fruit, there are all these 4 main different categories. There are berries, domestic fruit like apples, pears, peaches, exotic fruit like coconuts, dragon fruit, that sort of thing, and then citrus. So that will make it so that potential clients can go on that collection, and rather than having to have me put together all of the berries that I've done, they can just view it by tag, and they'll be able to see all of the berries. So that is the plan. I don't think she's going to get it all done today. She's coming this afternoon, so I'm thinking that it's going to have to be a couple of sessions, but that's the start. So I already planned all of that out, so I can check that off, which feels so good. And then I think today I also obviously need to do what I just mentioned, put together the Take Me Home Tuesday post. And I think I'm going to try to plan out some new videos. I started doing that over the weekend as well, but I need to just tighten it up and make sure I have everything that I need, because I think I want to do some filming tomorrow. And I have also started to prep some sketches as well, just for more portfolio work. And I'm working on a couple of personal pieces right now. One is, oh, I said ramen, but it's actually dumpling. I don't know why I said ramen. Oops, I shouldn't try to type while holding the camera. Yeah, so this I'm doing a time lapse of, using mostly the Dr. P.H. Martin's Hydrus watercolors for that. And I started working on it a while ago. So I'm hoping to finish that tomorrow, film some other videos tomorrow. So basically I need to do everything to be ready for that today. Yeah, so I think that is the planning part of my morning. While I have the camera out, I also wanted to show you guys a couple of recent editorial things. I think I already showed that, didn't I? Yeah. This, I showed this on Instagram a little bit ago, but this is Gravy, which is a production of the Southern Foodways Alliance, and they're a nonprofit that helps to preserve and tell stories about and yeah, just kind of safeguard Southern food culture. And it's really interesting. I had never heard of them before the art director emailed me, but I have enjoyed working with them. I've done another illustration for them as well that will be coming out I think next month. But yeah, this one was the first one I did for them, and it's some Swiss chard leaves, and it's a whole article about Swiss chard. Yeah, and it's kind of a fun size too. It's more like a zine size. And then I did a few different spot illustrations. This is Christopher Kimball's newer venture called Milk Street. I did, let me see if I can find him in here. Oh, there's two. It's a really beautiful magazine. The paper's like a little bit, it's not quite matte, not quite, it's like an eggshell almost. Yeah, really pretty paper. Yeah, so I did these, which are a couple of different sauces. And then I also did this one of, to see if it will focus, getting close. Yeah, fried sage leaves, which is for this recipe, which looks really good to me. It's like a white bean thing with fried sage leaves. Yeah, so I did 3 little spots in this, and they have also been really fun to work with. Oh my goodness. All right, so I have just been working on some client emails and trying to get my newsletter set up. I posted a Twitter poll just asking what people thought I should call it, because you have to have a name for your newsletter. Yeah, so I'm like going back and forth between calling it something really obvious, just like news from Kendyll's studio, or I don't know, something witty, which I'm not really a witty person, so coming up with witty titles is challenging for me. But yeah, so I've been doing that, and I was, jeez, I really need to get a better vlogging tripod. I have this tiny one that I think is meant for a smartphone, and the G7X is small, but it's really heavy, so it has a hard time with this tripod. Or the tripod has a hard time with it, rather. Oh gosh. Well, we're gonna make that work for now. I'll just bend down. Yes, so I am transitioning to trying to prep a few sketches for some portfolio work, and have also been editing questions. Like I had gone through on YouTube and gotten a bunch of questions that I will be doing a Q&A video for, and just trying to prep several different videos. I would like to film 4 videos tomorrow. I have no idea if that's even realistic, but one I have mentioned on Twitter and in my Insta stories. I'm going to be doing like a comparison and kind of a face-off between a bunch of different white opaque highlighters. And I got interested in this just because I've tried many of them myself, and I was testing last week. I don't know if you can see if this is gonna focus. It's focusing kind of. Now focus on my face. Okay. But I was testing a couple of different white highlighters that I have. Well, they're not necessarily specifically highlighters, but I usually use them as a highlight or sometimes to cover up mistakes. But one was just the one that's more see-through here. You can see this is my Holbein Acrylic Gouache, and then this other one is the Copic Opaque White, which is definitely more opaque. And I put them both on top of red colored pencil, which is one of the things that I feel is most notorious for bleeding through. So I'm going to do a whole video on that. I have like, I think 8 different things that I'm going to be comparing. I'm still waiting for a few new ones that I haven't tried, but you guys recommended on Twitter. I'm still waiting for a few of those to arrive, hoping they'll arrive before tomorrow so I could film that. Also planning to film a Q&A and a review of the Hydrus watercolors. And I've had some requests for tutorials for patterns, for pattern making, repeat pattern making. I don't know if I'll do that tomorrow, but yeah, doing that and a Q&A. And the reason I mentioned that was because when I was looking through for both Tumblr and YouTube, trying to gather up recent questions that I haven't already answered in other videos, a number of you wrote some just like really amazing comments on I think it was the last video I posted, the emotional stages of art making. And some of these I just thought were really insightful, so I wanted to share a few of them. Meg's Creations wrote, I'm so glad you made this video because I go through such similar emotions, but have always felt guilty about them, especially when I get the occasional commission here and there, because I'm so thankful and grateful to have even gotten the commission in the first place. I totally relate to that. It is, I feel like it's like makes it even more cruel and challenging to be going through those feelings, because then you feel guilty for having the negative emotions. So I just wanted to mention that, like I totally relate to that. I don't think I talked about that in the video, but it was a good point. And I don't know how to say this person's name. Aoede, Ode Pondo. I love that you made this video. I would add to it the pre-inspiration stage of feeling like you really want to have an idea, blank page fear, while also really not wanting to have an idea at the same time, because once you do, you're strapped into the roller coaster for the rest of all the feels. I always try to convince myself that a piece that has been made is better than a piece that hasn't, yet there is always a sense of loss that the great big beautiful thing you first imagined isn't in the world with you. I sometimes wonder why I make things, and usually it's a pretty simple, complex conversation with myself. I think that that might be a great topic for another video. So yeah, I actually, I should try to tackle that in another video, the question of like why we even bother making things if we have all of these feelings about them. But yes, I just wanted to highlight the point where you said like that feeling of conflict of wanting the idea, but also not wanting the responsibility of the idea. Yeah, I totally get that too. And then the last one, there were so many good comments, but I just wanted to pick a few to share. This is from Dream Up My Art. I'd say I mirror your list almost exactly that way myself. The majority of my work is personal versus commission, so my frustration phase often results in me putting away a project for 12 to 18 months to start a new project and then enter back into the inspiration phase. My bargaining phase usually involves me bribing myself with rewards for doing the work. Acceptance for me is the realization that the good enough is the realization that good enough is probably good enough, and that done is better than perfect. Yes, I have totally, I think I've talked about that on here actually. I've totally put stuff away for like over a year when I've gotten frustrated with it, and then come back to it eventually. And I would say actually all of my work, even client work, has some element of, and somebody else posted this, I think, I can't remember, I think she goes by Spotted Puppy Studios on here, but I think she mentioned something about how like she, at the end of any piece, she goes through a phase of just not really liking it. And I definitely identify with that, with both of those comments, with just the fact that like you've pushed and pushed and pushed and gotten to the end and the piece is finished and you finally come to the point of acceptance and it's not quite what you hoped, but you know, there it is, it's done. Yeah, I regularly feel like I just don't want to look at like the thing that I finished. I just don't want to look at it for a while and feel maybe even a little bit, I mean, disappointed is probably the best word, like some amount of disappointment with it. And then eventually I'll look back and be like, oh wow, I'm actually kind of happy with how I did that, or happy with how that turned out. But that usually takes me a while to get to. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for leaving such great comments. And yeah, you guys were all super thoughtful and had really interesting things to say. So if you have already watched the video, but you haven't looked through the comments, just take a look through and see some of the things that people shared were I found really helpful and insightful. So yeah, thank you all for doing that. And thank you in general for leaving such nice comments and yeah, and tweeting and on Instagram, and the feedback and yeah, just interaction and notes from you guys is so nice. And I wish that I could just like plug my brain and heart directly into my phone so that I could share my emotional response with you on reading those, because honestly what happens is I read them and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, and I can't respond right away, and then I get like overwhelmed trying to think of how to respond. So I'm trying to be better at responding. I know a lot of the time I don't write back for like weeks on end, so I'm really sorry about that, but I do read every single comment that you guys post, both on here and on social, and I appreciate everything, and I'm trying to do my best at responding in the moment, or you know, even if I can't respond with the same level of thoughtfulness and intention that you guys write your comments all the time, like I'm trying to just say, okay, well, some response is better than nothing. So yeah, I just want to say thank you, and that is that. So thank you. So it is about 2 o'clock right now. Penelope is napping. I'm just in the kitchen grabbing some coffee. I'm doing one of my secret kind of gross habits, which is just like re-microwaving, well, not re-microwaving, microwaving for the first time, reheating coffee that was left over in the coffee pot this morning. Yeah, I could totally brew more, but I don't know, I'm lazy and it's there. So reheating that. Penelope's napping. If you're new to my channel, you might not know, but on Tuesdays my dad comes to watch Penelope really early, so I usually stop around 1 to relieve him, and then he leaves, and then when Penelope goes back down for another nap, I do some more work, and then I will work some more when she's in bed in the evening. So yeah, she's just gone down, so I'm getting coffee and I'm gonna do a bit more work. The person who I have hired to help with SEO stuff on my website is coming in about 45 minutes to an hour or so. So when she gets here, I'll sit down with her and go over the work plan, and I might actually try to leave the house with Penelope and go to the gym while this person is here doing website work. We'll see, but regardless, I think I'm mostly done with the interesting stuff for today, or I don't know if it even was interesting. I feel like this was just a long video of me talking about stuff in a not very organized way, but yeah, that was mostly my day. So I don't think there was anything else I wanted to mention, except, you know, the usual stuff. If you're new here, this is primarily an art channel, and I do time lapses and Q&As and instructional videos and this kind of vlog type thing. Loose interpretation of a vlog, but yeah, so I post most Fridays. I try to post weekly on Fridays, and you can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and now Vero and Facebook and, you know, all the usual places, but all my links are in the description. I would really appreciate it if you would like this video and leave a comment if you did like it. Yeah, so I think that's it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.